Today we are installing the TPMS tire pressure and temperature monitoring system. We have had an unboxing video, so go to our channel and remember to subscribe and like. It really helps us out. This is livingfreeandfun.com. Check out our website. There's a blog and text instructions for what we're doing today as well. Okay, so we are going to label these sensors, and this is very important because when we are setting up the screen, the electronic device, it is going to go through each axle when you are setting up the high and low pressure. So I actually made a mistake. I labeled my two axles T1 and T2, but when you're going through the settings, it's going to get to that axle and treat those two the same, and I want them different. They'll actually be the same setting, but for your trailer, maybe the two axles, the two tires have a different PSI rating. For ours, it's both 65 PSI. That's the starting PSI that we're going to be working on. We're going to just use this. It doesn't matter which. If you have two axles, you could use T1 and T5. So what we're going to do is we're going to go T1 and T4 for one axle and T5 and T8 for the second axle. So I'm just going to grab the T5. We already have the T1 and T4 labeled. So I'm going to grab the T5 and I'm going to grab the T8. Next step, we are going to set whether we're using PSI or BAR, Fahrenheit or Celsius. So what you're going to do, first thing, press and hold set for 3 seconds. When you're in set, you can go plus or minus to select PSI or BAR. I'm going to select PSI. Fahrenheit, Celsius, I'm pretty comfortable with Fahrenheit. We are going to set that. Now, this is where we go to each axle and use that diagram to see which numbers you have labeled your sensors, and you're going to match that up here. So we're going to press set. That one doesn't matter. High, low. It's going to go to the second axle there of the tow vehicle. High, low. We're not going to worry about that. But here is where we have selected T1 and T4. So this one does matter. T1 and T4. So what we're going to do is it wants us to set this up 20% above our axle tire pressure. So that was 65 is our tire pressure. We're going to probably have it at about 60 PSI, but for the sake of this video, this is where we're going to set that up. So we're going to bring this PSI 20% above, so it should be about 12 above 60. So we're going to go all the way down. This is for the high pressure setting for that axle. So it's going to do both sides of the axle. So we are going to be at about, let's just say about 75 that's going to be the alert. If we get to 75 PSI, there's a problem. This thing's going to beep. We're going to set that. Now the low pressure. So the low pressure should be 10% below the axle tire pressure. So we are going to go much higher than this. So if it was at about 65, we're going to be at about 59 or 58. So we'll just put it there. And we're going to go set. Now we're going to do the other axle. And that is, we labeled that axle T5 and T8. And that's where those are. And we are going to set those up. Same thing. You can press and hold for faster. Set that. Okay, so these don't matter. We are not using those. And we're going to set our high and temperature right here. So once you've got your high temperature, press set. Look up for your tire what the high temperature is. Okay, so now we're going to code this to recognize each sensor and where it is on your axle. This can actually run by its own battery. If it's fully charged, it says it can run up to 60 hours. So what we're going to do, we're going to slide that button up and the monitor's going to turn on. To code these, you are going to press this right code button, press and hold until it flashes. And now you're going to see all those tires on the axle. So check your diagram. We've labeled this T1, and that's going to be on the first axle of the trailer. To get there, just press the plus button until you get to that first. So that's what we have matched to our trailer. We don't have dualies, we just have a single tire on that side of the axle, and that's what we're going to be programming. That is T1. So what you do is you take that sensor. I've moved the other sensors away so there's no confusion. We're going to put this just above the set button there. That's what it instructs to do. And if it's FFFFF, that means it hasn't been programmed yet. So what we're going to do is just a quick click of the code. You press it, release it, and now it has that sensor. So that is the code for the T1. That is complete. I'm going to do the same axle, T4. That's T4. We can see it's T4 in the diagram there. It matches. I've labeled that T4. We're going to put that there. And we're going to press and release the code quickly. And it found it. Perfect. Okay. We're going to go to T5, which is on the next axle right here. You're just going to match these with what you labeled, and you're going to match it to the flashing tire on your screen. I'm going to press and release. Perfect. T5, and we have one more, T8. We're going to go down to the T8. You'll find that on the diagram. Press and release the code. Okay, perfect. So we have synced the 4 tires. Press and hold code again. That's going to take us back. And it's going to have an alarm, because right now there's 0 PSI, and that's way lower than our alarm setting. So you can just turn off the device there. Now we can go and install these on our vehicle. So now we are going to install the sensors on the valve in the order that we installed it on the screen, and the screen is on right now. So it comes with this little tool. What's nice is if this is installed and somebody tries to steal one of these, it's not going to come off. It'll just spin, because you actually have to come across this and it locks on, and then you screw it on or off with this little tool. If somebody really wanted to, I'm sure they could, but somebody just walking by is not going to be able to take these. So we're going to remove the cap, and we're going to I'll hand put it on. That'll tighten it for a bit. So just be careful, because it does release some air, so you want to obviously check your pressure or fill it up maybe 1 PSI more, because it will release some air when you're putting these on. I'm going to do the other side. I'll be back. So I installed T1, I went to the other side, installed T4 on the same axle. T1, T4, I'm installing T5 right here. And that beeping you hear is because we've actually let out too much air, and it's below our warning already. So we're gonna have to take the air compressor out here and fill these up. I'm gonna go and do the other side, and we're gonna have installed all 4 sensors on our tires. Okay, so as you see, it's at 58. 58 was our alarm. That's why it's making that noise. I think you can just press any of these buttons to turn off that annoying sound. So, oh, you see it's actually down to 55. Oh, it's flashing through all the different tires here. So that's at 57, one was at 55. So immediately this is a really helpful tool. Amount of time. So all in all, I'd say that took about 20 minutes and was super easy to do. The instructions were very easy to follow. Extra research is required to get the PSI of your tires, what's the perfect level, and then the calculating 10% lower or 20% higher for the PSI settings for the alarm. Super easy to do. Yeah, 10 out of 10 on the installation. Subscribe, like. We will be posting a review of this product after our first trip, if anything happens to this, but so far so good for the EEZTire pressure monitoring system.